And we are live. Welcome back to Aussies taking over the NBA. It is Friday night. Is it Friday night?
It's New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day. Friday night, new day, new season. Christmas has come and gone. I hope everyone out there had a good Christmas rather, and are going to have a good New Year. Obviously, I think New Year's just passed in the US, has it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but for us, it's night on New Year's Day. 2021, hopefully it's going to be a better year for the NBA and for everyone in general. I hope you're staying safe out there in terms of COVID. It's going a bit nuts over here, a little bit in Sydney where we are. So hopefully everyone's staying safe out there. But as always, you can like, share, and subscribe on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts. We're on Podcast Addict, SoundCloud. We're on Twitter and Facebook as well. So head over there and check us out. Give us a like. And chat as well if you want to know about all things Aussies in the NBA. Got a little bit to talk about at the start of the new season. About a week's worth of games to talk about.
Yeah, a week's worth of games. What, four, 5 games in now?
Yeah. Not quite overreactions territory yet.
No, it's been a bit of a weird season though.
Yeah, it's definitely like I was like waiting to pull the trigger. I'm like, man, should we do overreactions? I don't know about this, man. Like there's been a few sort of storylines where you're just like, whoa, what has happened here? But I thought like we'll wait maybe a week or a little bit more before we get into it.
Yeah, I think this is kind of everyone's preseason still. I mean, how many games did they actually play? And yeah, no one really had an off season. The rookies really haven't had time to gel, and it's kind of the team. You can see the teams that have been together a little while are kind of doing the best. I've got a bit of a core group. That's Atlanta. I mean, that core group's been together for a couple of years now, and they've added a couple of good pieces. Indiana, that core group's been together for a few years, and they're playing well. So it's kind of the teams that have had not too much upheaval, and they're kind of doing the best in this weird and wonderful situation.
It's funny because there's some teams that haven't played in 9 months and they looked decent, and there's some teams that haven't played in like a month and they look awful, and some of them look good, some of them look awful. Like it's a little from column A and column B on both scenarios. So it's just been a weird start to the season. Like anyone can beat anyone. Yeah,
it feels a bit like that. Yeah, there's no fans as well. Actually, today's game with Philly, there was like 100 fans in the crowd, just all like sitting, 100 meters apart.
Yeah, was it legit fans? Because I saw Houston had like some servicemen or like frontline workers or something in their arena for something.
So there's certain states that allow fans to go, obviously because of America, but Florida allows fans in, Texas allows fans in, Louisiana allows fans in. It's a very limited amount, and the tickets are super expensive. But there is some fans, but like LA, no. New York, no. Massachusetts, no. So it's the southern states that are letting fans in, which I know it looked kind of okay. They were sitting at least 50 meters apart. So that was the Orlando game today. That was pretty good. Good win for Philly as well. I'm liking this new look Philly team.
We'll get to the Philly. We'll just do a little bit more armchair COVID talk. Because I think they announced today that they're going to be putting buzzers on all the players now and all the staff. So basically to keep people away from each other, and they're going to go off when like there's a proximity alert. You can't be like, I saw that come across the screen when I was watching ESPN tonight.
Plane technology is just like alert.
Yeah.
Alert.
You can't go near. So I thought that was interesting. I thought I thought you'd be all over that, but that's the first you've heard of that.
That's one. It doesn't really work. It's just bizarre. Like
it's weird, eh? Like I saw that and it's like, what? Like how weird's that going to be? Like you're going to be like, oh no, I'm in the cafeteria. I better go. Like someone's here.
I'm pretty sure if you look back at all the players in the NBA, I think 50% of them got COVID. Like there's 440 players. I think a good majority of them have had COVID. It's just the coaches that you'd kind of worry about with a few of them being in their senior years that you wouldn't really want to get them to get the disease.
Yeah, the older dudes,
But something crazy, man. Like apparently one person in LA County, which is downtown, is dying every 10 minutes of COVID at the moment. It's just nuts. And it's pretty horrific.
And I was reading a thing about Nasir Little. Who did he play for? Portland, I think. Basically, just fainted because of dehydration, and he had COVID and he's had complications and stuff like that. basically was in workouts and fainted, and I was reading here, could start to hear voices. My hearing was just coming back. Everyone was kind of standing over me. I was looking up at these people, and I just thought I went to bed, and I was like, God damn, man, this is heavy.
Mo Bamba's pretty much gone. Like,
Yeah.
he's still got terrible long haul disease and can't really do anything. He's probably got some sort of chronic fatigue.
Yeah, it's nasty, man. It's really, really nasty. So I hope everyone out there stay safe. Don't risk it. Make sure you quarantine and get tested if you have to get tested, because the less impact it has on you, the better. I think for the league. Do you feel like there might be a shutdown coming along?
No, I think that this is. I mean, you look at the first kind of peak in America, and that was nothing compared to this. That's when they shut it down. So I think this is obviously the worst part of what has been. I don't think it gets shut down. I think they just postpone games, move things around. There's just too much money involved, and I think all the players want to get paid, and there's just too much at stake, and everyone's sitting at home in America, not doing a lot, so they need some entertainment, and that's basketball, and that's football, and that's baseball, and that's hockey. So these things are definitely going to keep going. Sports seem to be the gel that the glue that gels the society together. But I just think they'll just postpone games.
Because they had the start, right, in the bubble. They navigated that really well. It was quite like frontline. We've got this bubble where, it's worked out really well. We didn't have any issues. And then the NFL sort of started. And then it was like, I don't like laughing about it, but it's just been like, and, 4 quarterbacks got it, and like a whole defensive line got it, and, one guy got on this team, one guy got on that team, college, like Trevor Lawrence got it, and half his team, Clemson, got it. And I'm like, damn, man, like if something like that happened in the NBA, I don't know, is it a different type of sport? Like it's very like high cardio oriented for all 5 guys. It's not like stop start like the NFL anyway.
Well, I think the other thing as well is the NBA season runs for so long. Football's so, condensed and compressed. You got 16 games. It's kind of, they can't just, hey, we'll just postpone it for a week. Where the NBA, there's a whole lot of time to slot games and move it for a week. And, there's a lot, they had to postpone that game, Houston versus OKC, because of Houston only had, I think, 7 active players or 8 active players, which wasn't enough because everyone had COVID or was in isolation protocol. So, that seems fine, and we'll just get on with our season. And I'm sure they've put in that. Maybe they scrap that if it's a big outbreak, and they just play the catch up games during that period of time. But it's still a week in and nothing too bad. So
so I guess that was the first thing. Really, they did have one game already, basically, that they had to move because of COVID situation. And a lot of that was down to James Harden, basically. I think the traces were mostly off of him coming back. I think there was 2. Was it? It
was the 2 rookies. It was.
I can't think of who it was now. It's just escaped me. But yeah, it was basically some tracing issues, and I think eventually it became some of the team. It was just like, well, we've got to shut this down. Like, there's no point. And I thought they handled that quite well, where they just went, look, shut it down. And like, we'll move this game. There was minimal fuss I saw from people around the league. Like, there wasn't like a lot of upset people. A lot of journalists didn't really go off the deep end, just going, oh my God, which I thought they handled it quite well. And it was similar to when we had the league like earlier in 2020, where the league moved the game quick smart, squashed everything, and was just like, game goes on. And then I think people are going to forget if there's going to be an issue. Like, it'll be hot news for a day, and then the game will pop up a couple of days later and everyone will just forget it happened.
Yeah, and I think that's just the way it is. I think the NBA is probably the best American sport that's done this so far. I think baseball has had massive outbreaks, and football has just been rampant. And
yeah, it's been crazy looking at some of the, like, there was, I think it was 17. What was I saying on the Ravens team? 17 players had contracted it. It was like, God damn, man.
It's just, I think basketball, there is still a level of spacing. You would say they're not as bad. Whereas I think football, it is kind of more of a contact sport. Although you're playing it outdoors, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Weird, But yeah, they're just in rooms together and breathing, and that's the end of it. I think in America, where we've got a family over there, and they pretty much they have outside clothes where they just like as soon as they get home, it's so cold over there, but they strip down butt naked and have a shower outdoors before they go inside
Mm.
and just leave their clothes out there to be washed. Like it's another level of craziness.
Yeah,
Is
it's
like to put it.
something that
Like,
we haven't really seen. We're lucky here.
it's hilarious here. We just there's 10 cases and everyone just stays home.
Mm.
Willingly.
Mm.
And there's 10,000 deaths in the last week in LA County.
Yeah,
Or
it's
in the
crazy.
last month, something crazy. And it's absolutely nuts. So
All right, so we'll move on to actually some lighter news. So yeah, everyone stay safe out there. We'll move on to the actual games, and I think we'll start with Philly because they probably have the flagship player of our Aussie hopefuls in Ben Simmons.
yeah, I think in terms of winning a championship, and I don't. From the first 5 games, I haven't seen his game elevating at all, except his defense. Like, but again, he's a top 3 defender in the NBA. You can't really elevate much more than that.
No,
it's you, Giannis, and Kawhi. So he's helped win games back on the back of defense. In terms of the offensive game, he's been, I think, less. I think teams have figured out, to collapse the paint a little bit more when he's driving. But again, you can see how much more space him and Embiid have to operate with Doc Rivers putting a leash on Harris dribble drives and, Danny Green and Seth Curry just standing in corners. Like, there's much more space for Embiid to operate. And Embiid's been good, man. He's been dominant. He's had lots of space to work with. And it's leaving guys like Seth Curry open, and Seth Curry scoring 20 a night. So, that's good when that's happening because they're having to double team Embiid and Embiid just kicking it out. Look, defensively, they're great.
Yeah.
The bench unit's been doing really well. Tyrese Maxey's a good pickup as a rookie. Some of the other rookies have kind of blossomed. Dwight Howard, I think, has played a great role. I think the problem that they're going to find, and I don't think it's a problem, but when they're playing back-to-backs and resting Embiid for load management, they've just got no depth at the center position. And I think that's the issue, is that Dwight Howard is really just a bench runner. And, you can see the guys like Christian Wood now, who's probably, I think, on par with, Sabonis as being that kind of second tier league center. And they're all triple threats. That's what it is. Like Wood, Sabonis, Davis, they're all triple threats. And, you're not going to be able to afford a triple threat backup center. So unless they pick up like Will Magnay or something like that, which would be
yeah, sweet. I'm in. Do it. But you're right. I think they're missing kind of one center, and it has to be like an Embiid backup for what he does. Like, it doesn't have to be obviously the same level that Embiid plays night after night, but it needs to be that style of backup. It needs to be able to shoot the ball, kind of run pick and roll with Simmons or some of the other guys, and like basically be enough of a threat to let those shooters get open.
Well, that's it. You're losing 27 points a night, and Dwight Howard's picking up 4 or 5. So how are you supposed to win games like that? You got to rely on your guards a bit more, but it's not the guards that are scoring it, right? So what do? You can't really play Simmons at the 5 in that kind of lineup. I don't think the guards are big enough to do that. It's kind of a bit of a weird situation to be in. I mean, a good one. I mean, if you can play a back to back, then they're going to do it. But I think the Cavs was a bit of an eye opener, losing to the Cavs the way they did. Again, they're also a team that hasn't played together, and when you're playing and your whole offense and structure is centered around one guy, and I think that's what Doc Rivers is doing, is really centering it around Embiid. You pull him out for a night, and all of a sudden you don't actually know how to play. Because everything's centered around one guy. That one guy doesn't play, and all of a sudden we've got nothing. So I think that's just a bit of a learning curve. Again, not really much of an off season. Only 2 games leading into the preseason, and time will tell. But Ben Simmons hitting a 3 today in motion, I think, was nice as well.
In rhythm. It wasn't really in motion. It was just nice in rhythm. He kind of in the corner, caught it, catch and shoot type thing. It was good. It was good to see. It looks smooth. Their hand was a little bit, angled. Where it's like, ooh, it's a bit, But
Look
it was
at LaMelo
beautiful. Went
Ball.
straight through though. It was lovely.
It was lovely shot, and they won that game in the first quarter.
Mm.
But coming back to bad shot mechanics, LaMelo Ball just putting up like 23 points in 20 minutes, just absolutely slaughtering.
Mm.
And it's crazy to see that kid's shot mechanic is so bad, but
Yeah.
yet
It's a little
just
bit like Halliburton. You see Halliburton
Yeah.
today hit a shot in the corner against Houston, and gave it, turned around. I think it was Cousins and Wall were standing there, and he turned around to give it like three to Cousins, and the look on Cousins' face was just like, ooh, like that shot was like, ooh. It was hilarious, man. I'll send you the clip of it. It's pretty funny. But it's whatever gets it done. Like I don't care what it looks like. And here's me straight away going, oh, it was a bit weird, he had his arm up. It was but I don't care. Like if he shoots 2 or 3 of those a game, and he makes one, doesn't matter to me really. At the end of the day, if he's just putting up those points, because I think you're right. His game hasn't really gone to a new level, or like it doesn't look like it's going to be elevated. But at the same time, I think everyone around him is making his game not necessarily stick out, but it doesn't have to be better. Like, it doesn't have to raise to a level that it raised to last year, because the team around him is a lot better. It fits better. They've got shooters that he can kick to. They've got a better cast. And you're right about Embiid, that he's kind of running it through Embiid. And this is not an isolated problem where if Embiid's not there, they kind of struggle. It has been over the last couple of years that, like, if Embiid is missed extended periods of time, this team kind of has to stop. Okay, take stock of what we're doing, like how are we playing. We need to find the style, and okay, we play this style, and Embiid comes back, and then they have some issues again. So I think Doc's kind of got to work it out. It's going to take time.
It's going to take time, and I think he's definitely got it going in the right direction. And Daryl Morey's put a good team together, and I think that's what Doc's right. Who cares about what Simmons is doing? He's elevating the other players and making the other players look good. And don't worry about what stats he's putting up. Just worry about wins on the board, and that's what it is at the end of the day. No one cares if Russell Westbrook put up a triple double every game, and the Wizards are 0-5. So they're on a big fat donut. So it doesn't matter. And I think this is what a lot of people in the league. Oh, you look at the Philly forums, and Philly fans are notoriously critical, I would say. And he's just he should shoot more. This guy hasn't developed a jumper. And just like, well, what other 6'10" guard do you get that's a defensive first team, can pass and can lock down? Like RJ Barrett was like 3 of 18 or 20 or something like that when they play. Just a defensive behemoth. You can win games in defense, and Embiid's, it looks like he's coming into his prime. His prime year. He looks healthier. He's playing all first quarter and not looking absolutely just gassed.
Dude, he's doing way less of just like Joel, like back over here. Like, dude, why are you fighting for that? Just come stand. Like, he's doing less of that. Like, it's way smoother. The offense is running a lot smoother, so he doesn't have to do all this work. Where you're just like, that's just such a lot of wasted energy. And defensively, they're third at the moment for opposition points per game, 99.8. Which they're rooted in defense, which is good. I think this team did need a defensive reset. As someone who's not like a fan of Philly, like they needed to strip the team and then focus on the defense and then build back up their offense. And I think they've got a good coach in Doc to do that, which I think it'll hold them in pretty good stead. Just to go back to that Washington game, the first game, I think they were up 12 sort of before the end of the first half. Washington ended up bringing them all the way back. And then I think Washington were even up 12 or 13 maybe.
Yeah.
At one point. And I was getting these flashes of like, oh no, like it's Groundhog Day. Like, here we go. Like, opening night, there's big expectations, and Philly are just like, well, we're down by 13. Let's pack it up and go home, lads. Like, we'll take the L and we'll just go home. But it was good to see they fought back and actually won the game. And that, I think, 4 or 5 months ago, before, like pre-bubble, pre-shutdown, I think they might have lost that game, like in the headspace they were in.
Same as Raptors. They trailed to the Raptors until the last 5 minutes and then just blew them out of the water. And I think they're going back to the team, not last year, but the year before, when they had just shooters and 2 guys that, played post ball and played, quick. And it's looking like that Saric Rocco years again. And it's nice. you wouldn't even say with better players. It's getting back to that. But Simmons and Embiid are better players now, and probably going to be better postseason players as well. And they've got a better bench, a better defensive bench as well, which is it's nice to finally see. So look, we'll see. 5 games in, 4-1. It's good start, but long way to go yet.
Yep. And I think I'm less worried. Like, man, just that doc, like the whole doc thing. I at first, to go back to when they announced it, I was just like, really, doc? Don't know about this, man. But now, now that it's all been stripped back and they brought in Morey, you can see they need like a guy who just goes, boys, like, what are we doing? Let's like, there's a wall there. We need to build it. Let's all just get together and build this wall. Like, we can't just all stand around going, it'll build itself. Like, yeah, it'll be all right. Like, which is what I felt like when Brett Brown was there. Like, I felt like that team was just very like, we're Philly. Like, we're awesome. We've got Embiid and Simmons. We're great. And it's just like, well, you just lost. What a shame. We'll go on to the next game. Like, this team, I feel like if they go down, it's like, boys, we've got to actually win these games now. We've got to do it. And then I think Doc's a big driving force of that. And it's good to see because Philly, I think, there's big expectations from the fans and around the league. There's a lot of, like, last season, a lot of people picked them to be great, and they were awful, like, in that bubble, and they had a really disappointing end of that season. So it'll be good to see them bounce back as kind of like a main team in the league. They've got a real open window now to, grab the bull by the horns and take the East, which would be good to see. Anything else Philly-wise going forward?
Not really. Still early on. I'm sure we'll get more kind of, they've got to play some good teams as well. They've had some relatively easy games to start off with. So wait to some better teams get involved.
All right, we'll move on to the Spurs, who had a nice sort of start to the season, and it was just like, like, is this back to Spurs again? Are we Spurs? They beat Memphis 131-119. Patty Mills only playing 20 minutes in this game. He still looks good, man. He still looks so useful. It's just so good to see him out there running around like a maniac.
It just looks like Seth Curry. Him and Seth Curry are pretty much clones. And they could be completely interchangeable. It's hilarious.
Just against Memphis. Yeah, I watched some of that game and solid. And I'm not that high on Memphis. Like, there's a lot of people that are just like, Ja Morant, he's going to take them to the next level. It's happening either this year or next year. Yeah. I'm still a bit like, no, I don't know about this team. And this like, talking about overreactions, this first game was just like a validation of just like, see, like, Memphis has still got a lot of work to do. But at the same time, like, it was weird to see like Spurs, like, how did you put 131 up here? Like, this is bizarre. Like, what's going on? DeRozan played pretty well in that game, and it's still like, I don't know. I'm not quite off the Spurs can make the playoffs train yet. Like, last year, we were very like, no, let's not get too excited. Then sort of towards the middle of the year, you went, all right, I think it's over. And then by the end of the year, you're just like, yeah, it's definitely over. But this year, like, I'm back again. I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe like we need to have another look at this year. We need to look at this Spurs team again.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of teams in the West have gotten worse. I don't know, would you say like Portland looks oof, the Rockets look oof.
Yeah, the Rockets look awful. And then, they've got James Harden's probably going to leave hanging over the top of them. But yeah, no, I think there's a weirdness to the West. Like, it's like there's a shockwave effect.
Yeah, the Warriors are kind of, the East is the strength, I think now. I think the East has got some very, very strong teams, and it seems to be where all the the big names are kind of coming out of. And it's really the West is LeBron, and even Denver have looked really bad. Mm-hmm. It's just the Jokic show, and Michael Porter Jr. not playing any defense but playing a lot of offense. It's just like, well, this is weird. It's
almost fevery, isn't it? Like, it's almost NBL-y where you're just like, any team can beat anyone, man. Like, you just never know. You can't bet on this because you just don't know what team's going to turn up on what given night. And I don't know. It's weird. Like, the West feels like there's a shockwave and there's like a power vacuum where it's just like, all right, there's 5 teams here. You're going to step into that vacuum, and all 5 of those teams like aren't ready yet. It's like, whereas in the East, there's kind of a little bit of that shockwave effect. But there's 4 or 5 teams there where like the Heat like had that really big season last year, like a coming of age style season. And then you got like Atlanta, these other teams where they're just like, Atlanta feels like they're just like evading the cops, like just running, like run as fast as you can. And so they're going to go into that vortex, like no matter what. But I still feel like there's a few teams there in the East where they're just like, we're ready. It's ready to go. We're going into this spot. We're going to take up these spots.
Does Atlanta just feels like they can take a whole lot of regular season games that'll just get bundled out in round one?
Yeah, for sure. And Trey Young shooting like 7 billion free throws a game. Like, what the hell is up with that?
He's become the new James Harden.
It's insane. And their team is so just like run and gun. You know what I mean? It's like it's running through the paintball field just with gun, just shooting people like a maniac. You know, you get one guy in your paintball team that just like likes to run out and shoot people. Like that's what I feel like Atlanta is at the moment. But yeah, it's been a weird start. The Spurs, Paddy has just been really good. They lost against the Pels. It was a tight loss. I thought they played quite well in that game. I saw a little bit of that. He had 10 points. The Pels are even a weird team, man. Like the Pels feel like they're a good team.
Just feel like just a bit.
Oh, he's like I'm 4 years away, but like the hype is now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's still got to like grow into his role, and you can see all these flashes of oh wow, the fundamentals are there. You know, on some plays and on other plays, just like whoa, and you're like, you got to remember, oh, yeah, he's a second-year player. You know what I mean?
He's not even, I would say he's like a 30% first-year player, but he played about 30% of first year. So I'd say he's like 30% into his first year in terms of his ability to read. But that team, Steven Adams, they've got good starters, but then they just don't have any bench depth, and that's their issue. I think that they may make the playoffs based on raw talent, but they've got to add a couple of pieces, and they don't utilize JJ Redick well.
Nah, Van Gundy's not going to utilize him very well. They have a lot of dice roll guys. Like even Adams is a bit of a dice roll guy, and Ingram, where one night it could be great, and you're just like, wow, this team's going places. On another night, you're just like, what happened, boys? And it's just like, well, it came up snake eyes. Sorry, lads. We lost that game. And I don't know how, like, if Stan Van Gundy's going to hold on to that. Like, he doesn't feel like a coach where it's just going to, he's going to make it work.
The funniest thing is JJ Redick getting asked about how his preseason was. He goes, 17 years into the league, I didn't think I'd be back with Stan Van Gundy doing his bloody preseason.
Because I've heard him tell stories about how they practice with pads on and stuff, like knee pads, like full contact knee pads. Oh, it's like, man, fuck that. Fuck playing for that guy. But yeah, the Spurs 2-2. I think it's been a good start. I think Paddy's been pretty good. I feel like they're going to quietly sneak into at least the play-in, the fucking play-in. I'm sick of hearing about this play-in tournament. And everyone just being like, how mad is this idea? It's just like, is it really?
No.
I don't think so. Like in the bubble, yeah, great gimmick. But now it's like, who gives a shit? It's like 5 extra games where you're just like, okay. And then the poor 8th seed that makes the 8th seed and blows it has to look like a fuckwit now because they've blown it. You know what I mean? Like if the 8th seed doesn't win the play-in tournament, like they look like dickheads now. And they really should have just been in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it's just weird.
Oops. Stupid. Close that. Let's go to Toronto now and Bainesy.
The Raptors look terrible.
They look awful, man. They look like a team who's just like they've jumbled this team together again. Yeah,
it just looks like, oh, we've got no soul again, and we're back to Nick Nurse's weird and wonderful. He reminds me of Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. Just weird shit happens on that team, and they just do weird things and make weird plays, and you're just like, the talent's there. Lowry's a bit old. Van Fleet's probably overpaid. Siakam, they just he left the court early, so they're just like, you can't play tomorrow night. That was weird. They banned him, and it was just okay.
Yeah.
Alex Len is the worst. I mean,
he's one of the worst centers in the league, man. He feels like a discount Valanciunas, eh?
It feels like a discount Plumlee. That's how bad he is. Just terrible.
Just quietly, like Plumlee on Detroit, they're just dialing up late game offense for him. Quick, get it to Plumlee in the post. And it's like, what are you guys doing?
Detroit is absolutely the worst team to watch in the league.
They're half chops, man.
They're just, what is that team? Like, Killian Hayes is terrible. Like, he is just not, he's a FIBA player. You can just see it in his demeanor. Derek Rose is not playing enough.
Mm.
Plumlee is playing 26 minutes a night. Blake Griffin just looks like I'm just hit it until I get traded. And
then like Jeremy Grant's like, I'm a high usage guy,
beautiful.
man. And you're like, what? Jeremy Grant, you're the high usage
Yeah, man.
scorer guy? Like, what the hell is this?
I'm scoring. I'm dropping 50 a night, man. I'm dropping 50 a night.
It's just a weird team. But I think, yeah, Toronto is a weird team as well. They've kind of just fallen back into the kind of also rans. Like Alex Len is just awful. And like Siakam, I think with Kawhi overperformed a little bit. And there's like, it's nothing on Siakam as a player. I think he's a good player. But at the same time, like sometimes you get this lightning in a bottle where a player comes in and makes you so much better. And that player leaves and then you don't have that little spark, that little bit extra to make you better. Like I don't think he's taken a step down. He's been a little bit worse than he was in that season. But at the same time, like putting him in this team and going like, you know what you are? You're the main part of this team. It's just like, nah, that's not what this guy is. And they kind of just have to go with that, really. You know what I mean? It's not like we'll just get rid of him, like a DeRozan where they held on to him for ages and ended up getting rid of him. You know, they've added Baines to this team, and Baines is if you've got the right environment, plug this guy who can slink out and shoot some threes and run some pick and pop, etc., and you can plug him in. But that's not what that team is. Like Van Fleet's struggling to read him. I feel like Lowry's struggling to read him. And he's not a good inside scorer, and he's having to clean up a lot around the rim, and you're just like, that's not what Bainesy does. And he's in a situation where he's just like, I've got to do it. I'll try and do it. And then it looks bad. And yeah, it's a bit of a struggle.
You play Bainesy as a pick and pop center. He's just a massive body you throw in the middle and don't expect any post play. And yep, I'll slink out to the corner and shoot a three. And it's nice that Bainesy got a 2-year gig, but it's kind of like where he is in his career is that perfect kind of Clippers. Ivica Zubac is not ready yet. Let's get Bainesy in to mop up 15 minutes where some people can play, pick and pop to Bainesy to shoot a couple of threes. And yep, we've just. That's where he is like, but where you see him as a starting center up against, some of these triple threat guys like Davis and Embiid, he's struggled. He's a good FIBA player because he's so massive that you can't get deep into the paint. But when you've got a lot of room and you've got to move sideways, there's some smart centers in the league, and he's going to struggle with that. Unfortunately, that's why he's so good at the World Cup. He's just perfect for FIBA. Just camp in the lane. You're a massive body. No one's really going to clash with you, and you're going to have to take people to the mid range, and no centers can shoot in the mid range usually. Anyone's that make it there anyway. And
yeah, it's a hard team to watch, man. Like I like them, and I want to really like. And Lowry's hard to watch too, man. Some of the just dirty shit he does. You're just sloppy. Like, really, Carl, are you really doing this? So I think we'll struggle through watching Toronto. They might get better, but I really do think they're like on a downward curve, and I kind of indicated that in the preseason chat that I feel like the kind of ass has fallen out of what they are. They've lost that. Like with the championship as well, they've lost you guys are the outside kind of team. You fall outside the main parameters of what the league's looking at now that they have the championship. It's just like everyone's laughing at them, like with a legitimate reason type of thing. It's hard, man. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on them for the next few weeks. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Wow. What a hot start out in Sexland. How good's that for a backcourt name, man? Fucking
Sexland.
Yeah, that's #Sexland. Fucking hell, those two, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, have been fantastic. And low key, we kind of we were very down on them because they were hard to watch last year. But at the same time, we said a couple of things. So I went back and rewatched what we were talking about in the Cavs. We said a couple of things where if they were able to get guys out of the way of them, and then for them to buy in, like they would be a decent combo to just like run and gun. And that's what they did in the first 3 games. They just run those two guys run and gun style, and have sort of Drummond step out of the way and not have to like hold the ball in the post. And they've got some all round guys like Osman and JaVale McGee. Larry Nance has been really good as sort of like a supplementary playmaker as well. Yeah. It kind of works, and you're like, yeah, that does work. And they won 3 games, and now they're 2 on the trot, losing. it's still like it's not a winning combo.
It's not a winning team combo, but it's at least going to make potentially watching them a bit more fun and Thon getting some minutes.
Yeah, he got some minutes today. He got destroyed by Sabonis, man. Yeah, Thon, man. I don't want to do it. It's not the right time to just be like, man, it's hard to watch, but it is hard to watch, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going either. Like a couple of years ago, you were like, I know where it's going. You need to put on some beef. You need to like work on your inside game. Now it's like he looks bigger and stronger, and he still just looks a little bit all at sea in the post, which is a worry.
Yeah, and he shouldn't because he's 7'1" and good length. But Sabonis is so crafty, man. You can understand why he's an all-star. He'll be an all-star for the next 5-6 years. He'll be the most underrated player in the league, I think. Because he's got playmaking ability as well. So, you can understand why. We definitely poo-pooed the Indiana Pacers preseason, but
they look good, man.
They look really good.
Yeah,
they look like a team that's going to be there in the top 4 all the way.
They just sneak under there, and then you're just like, oh yeah, the Pacers. Fuck, forgot about them, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. And no one likes the Pacers. Like, they're such a small market team with no superstars. Everyone's just like, no, we don't like the Pacers.
They play tough basketball, but as well. And I feel like that's also a reason why people don't like. They're not glamorous. They're like a tough team, underdogs. But this Cavs team, does it feel like they have a little something there, like a little like playoffs? Yeah. Oh, sneaky playoffs.
Look, nah. Look, they definitely won't be the worst in the East. I think that'll go to the Chicago Bulls. I think Washington will get back on track. I think they've got the talent in there to get back on track. The Bulls are terrible. Like, they're just absolute trash.
Yeah, it's so bad.
But
I don't know how they were 30.5 wins, man. How? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I look back on it and think,
Cleveland, like going off last year, Cleveland at 22.5 was a solid year, definite under on that. Like, that's not the right way to phrase it. Like, I don't think you can be ridiculed for just being like definite under from what we saw last season was bad, man. But at the same time, like what we're seeing now, I don't think it's a little bit of an overreaction, but at the same time, like I kind of am like, all right, like if all of these guys buy in, there's no reason why they can't win a few more games here and there, get up to maybe 30 wins, like sneak up to like 30 wins, be an underdog style team. But you can tell they don't have like the glue that holds a winning team that makes the playoffs together. The Pacers have. Like the Pacers have that.
Yeah, well, they're still young, man. Like Oladipo's been in the league for a while, Sabonis, Turner. These guys have all been in the league. Man, you've got Exum who hasn't strung, a single year together, who's looked good in stretches. Getting his rhythm going, which is nice to see. They played him at small forward, I think, today. He got the start, not really small forward, but
plus 29 against Philly. He had a pretty solid game against Philly.
He did. He always plays well against Ben Simmons because they're mates.
Yeah. I think they're kind of like a bit like mirror match type, really. Like they're not obviously the same size, but I think they're the same type of defensive player that play that kind of crafty style game.
Exum's got a massive wingspan. I think it's almost the same as Simmons. It's humongous.
He's slow. He looks heavy too, man. Does he look heavy to you?
It looks like he's put a bit of beef on. He's not as slashy as he was a couple of years ago. He's a bit more wispy. Now he's put a bit of beef on. Maybe it's part of his rehab to try and get stronger.
Yeah, for sure. And good on him. I think, playing as a guard, probably he has the skills, but I like him trying to move towards being maybe a forward, a facilitator type player that plays down into the guard positions, like with the size that he has. Like it's great to see him. It was great to see him play defensively over the last few years as the guard type player and defend guys that were bigger, being 6'6". But I think if he puts on a little bit of size to play a small forward, almost like a secondary creator type role, I can see him sort of moving into that because his shooting is still a bit not trustworthy, but
not trustworthy. But it can be good at times. Like he's put up 30s and
he had all 5 against the Knicks. And just from 3, like he can score the ball, but it's in ways that are like a slashing small forward. And I feel like that's where he's heading.
Could be, and it'll be interesting to see his evolution there at Cavs. But yeah, look, Cavs are an interesting team. They're not as terrible as I thought they were going to be.
Let's go back to like a month ago. It was like, no, this team is awful. And like, yeah, it's not a bad team to watch. But getting rid of Tristan Thompson too has opened this team up as well. Yeah. I think it got another guy out of the way of Drummond, where it's just like, all right, if Drummond just shuts up and like collects boards and, you know, just plays his game, doesn't demand the ball, like it's like, okay, like now we can work with this. And that, I feel like that a lot of that, like at the start of the season where we were talking about it, was coming from, like, man, what role is Drummond going to want in this team? And it feels like he's just like, whatever, just get out of my way, grab boards and do what I need to do.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And Delhi, we should say, he's in concussion protocol as well. So I think he's been in there for a week. And yeah, he's had concussion protocol previously, which is a worry. Last year, I think he was in there for 3 weeks. Yeah, which is, hopefully he can kind of just breeze through that and get out of it. But, you know, his age and the way he plays the game too, like he's very just put his body on the line for everything. So hopefully, he can come out of that. Who have we got next? Joe Ingles, jingling Joe Ingles for the Utah Jazz.
The $205 million Rudy Gobert spider monkey Jazz.
The yacht anchor, super yacht. He's like a super yacht anchor, man. Like, actually, it's hard because like I kind of pulled the pin on them at the start of the season. And I went into this season not being like, I want to really like the Jazz. I went into this season just going like, I'm out on the Jazz. I don't like what they've done. I don't like the way their team has kind of changed, like, for a style of basketball that I don't enjoy. Like a lot of like individuals and a lot less kind of fluid basketball that I was playing a few years ago. Now it's kind of
just ISO ball.
Yeah, it's a lot of space around their players all the time when they're on offense. Like, it's not like they were just running dudes into guys all the time, and it was like there's no fucking space like on offense. Now it's like I feel like every single player has like acres of space around them. It's weird. Conley and Gobert, like Gobert was doing this playmaking stuff in the last couple of games, and he's not that bad at it. Like he's good at it, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that's not bad. That's good. But then you're like, why are you giving this license, man? Like, why are you giving him the chance to do this? Because you know
$205 million. That's why.
I get that, but it's just weird looking. Like, it kind of works, it kind of doesn't work, but at the same time, it's just weird looking where you can't just go, look, there's the cones. Don't go outside those cones, man. Like, you know what I mean? Now he's like, there was a couple of times today where he was getting grab and goes with Conley. I think he had a grab and go with Royce O'Neal as well. And you're like, what? Like, he's playmaking? Like, that's weird. Like, it's... Yeah. And then he can't shoot outside of like 4 feet, 5 feet. Even like his little array of scoops and around the basket stuff is kind of like, did we really need to pay a lot for this?
Yeah, I've seen him shoot jumpers in practice, and he's not that bad. It's just weird. Like, why don't you do it in the game? I always, you see these guys in practice sometimes, and they just knock down like 15-foot jumpers like all day, and then in the game they're just complete gumbies. And you're like, what's the difference? Like, is it just a hand in your face? But this team is one injury away from having absolutely no depth.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest issue really here, is that they're depthless, and they haven't been able to really attract anyone outside of Bogdanovic. So.
And they drafted Azubuike, which I think he's been decent looking, but he's like a Royce O'Neal level rookie where it's all right. Royce O'Neal's in year 3, and you're finally like getting a bit of like, hey, I like Royce O'Neal. Like, you know, he's solid. You know what I mean? Like, he still looks like a rookie at the moment. And to think back to, man, that team they had 2 years ago where they had some like real balance to that team to what it is now, you're just like, wow, very guard heavy. You know, one scoring forward, Joe Ingles, is like slowing down a little bit. I feel like it's a bit of an elephant in the room too. Like, I don't want to bring it up, but it's a little bit of an elephant in the room that he's slowed down a lot. But at the same time, it's like no one's going to get upset at Joe Ingles ever.
Well, not only that, I think this team is definitely playoff bound. I think they'll get enough wins out of what they need to do. It's just that they'll never really take it to the next level.
Hmm.
Also, Donovan Mitchell's been really cold this year, like super terrible.
Hmm.
Actually, all the kind of like next level players have just been absolute arse in the first 5 games.
Or
Absolute
like the
arse.
guys that is just like, all right, now's the year that you need to step up.
Yes.
Or like you're going to make a leap. The you're going to make a leap guys have just been awful, like really
Kelly
awful. It's
Oubre,
weird.
Donovan Mitchell.
Even Ja
bloody
Morant's been a little bit up and down, like
44 and then up, then down. Yeah.
But
Luka
yeah,
Doncic is what shot 8%.
oh
from
yeah,
three.
we'll get to Dallas. Yeah, oof.
So,
But yeah, this Utah team, I'm out. I texted you today. I'm just like, I can't watch this, or like I'm gonna watch it, but I'm like, I can't be like in on this and be like, yeah, come on, Jazz, woo. I'm just looking at it, going, what are you guys doing? Like, it's all over the place now. Like, what the hell? Well, from where you were 2 years ago to now, like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, Jingling Joe shooting 30% this season, for career 40.6% 3-point shoot. I think he was up a little bit higher, but last season he was dreadful as well on three.
Yeah.
So I think his three ball's falling back to earth a little bit, which is a
Yes.
worry. But yeah, the Dallas Mavericks and new recruit rookie Josh Green. Shout out if you want to see our reaction video to us watching Josh Green. It's pretty good video.
He's good. Rick Carlisle is the worst coach in the league. I'm convinced of Rick Carlisle just being a terrible coach. Just rubbish.
But he's not though. Like he's not. He's not a bad coach. Yet at the same time, you look.
Coach, you put him into a LeBron team with, a 15-year guy, a 12-year guy, like a 7-year guy, and maybe one rookie that he throws in for 8 minutes a game. This guy cannot develop talent. That's the issue.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. And unless that talent is a guy like Luka Doncic that already has inherent ability in him that is going to come out anyway. Like this is a huge call to make on a guy who's quite a well-renowned coach in the league. But I think, it is an issue with this where he dined out on Dirk for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He dined out on what Dirk was and the way that team grew through longevity. It grew through building the chemistry between the entire team. And who's to say that it's not going to be in 5-6 years Luka Doncic is going to be a Dirk level player that he expands to. But I think in the last few years he's like Carlos kind of struggled to get guys and make them better as rookies and as 3 to 4 year players. Like if he has, like I'm looking at this now, and Doncic is a second year player. 2 years. It's his third year. He's got Taro, Terry, and Green as rookies, and then he's got Iwundu, Kleber, both 3 years experience. Then Porzingis is 4 years, Finney Smith's 4 years, Marjanovic 5 years, Willie Cauley-Stein 5 years, Richardson 5 years. Like there's no I've got 5, 8, 9 year veterans here.
Yeah.
Like and then those guys are really good players. Like, okay, he's got 4 of them. He's got Courtney Lee, James Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Trey Burke. But you're like, those guys aren't the caliber to take you to at least a deep playoff run.
Yeah, it's still many pieces away. I mean, we haven't seen Kristaps. Obviously, he's out injured, but it's still.
Yeah.
A few
Yet, how good was their absolute pumping they put on the Clippers?
That was just weird though.
But that is also throw that in the basket of man, this year is weird. This season is weird.
Paul George just having an off night and Kawhi just and yeah, it's the Clippers team's a strange team. It's a good team, but it's a strange team.
They're good, and this Dallas team, and we should actually look at Josh Green's minutes so far. I did have a look at it.
It's had 6 minutes.
It's just
5.
garbage time basically,
Yeah.
and hey, fair enough too. You're not going to go. This guy should be getting 15 minutes. It's not like Brokoff where you're just like, how is this guy not getting 8 minutes a game? As a rotational piece, he's 27, versatile Swiss Army knife on offense, can play a bit of defense. Different scenario where Josh Green's a first year rookie, so it doesn't matter. You can expect him to not make an appearance for maybe 7 or 8 games. But he got 11 minutes in the game against the Clippers, and kind of plays hard, doesn't fit.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got from him.
Yeah. it's not. They're not really in the mood for a slasher.
Mm.
They like guys that play in the mid range and kind of they like their slashers to be big men. They like the Maxi Cleavers to kind of cut baseline for Doncic to do the dish. They just Josh Green's kind of that player, but 6'6" instead of 6'10". I don't know. Rick Carlisle, I just don't get.
Mm.
Yeah, I just don't get him as a coach. I've always said that though. It was just kind of like, this is weird. This team is weird. It's very Luka Doncic centric, which is fine, but for the fact that you just have no really decent veterans.
So yeah, it's a bizarre team. I don't know. It's so they're just one of the ones where you're just like, I thought this team was going to be good. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you good? What the hell?
No good. No comprende.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, and I think that's about it to start the season. I think we probably could have overreacted. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of the content so far out of this first week has just been like, whoa, overreactions off the charts. And that's I'm into that. I'm like, yeah, it's been interesting hearing some of the overreactions around the league of what's been happening, different things like players and stuff like that. But I think for us, we should wait a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think 15 games in, that's when you really get a sense of what's going to go down.
Because it just gets too outrageous when we react to this. Like, I can't believe... Like, Houston look awful, man. They really look awful. Like, they're trying to... we're going to play small ball with just, like, trash. And you're just like, no. Just play normal basketball with trash.
This is funny because they've actually got a triple threat center in Christian Wood. And
I think he's not as good as, and he's a bit defensively, doesn't play like a big man.
No, he kind of plays like a Thon Maker defensively, just always block hunting.
It's not a great rim protector. Looking at their defensive rating, second last in the league, behind Golden State Warriors. Sorry, opposition points against that is. The differential is -4, whereas the Warriors differential is -13.5. Fucking hell. But yeah, I don't know. They're awful, man. Let's just do a quick, fire off a couple of quick overreactions. The Kings look decent. And the Suns, after I had the text chain with you, the first game overreaction, watching Chris Paul basically shove dudes out of the way and just get out of my way. Fucking get out of my way.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, this doesn't look good. And then they've just quietly come back and rattled off 3 straight where they look like an actual proper contender. They may even finish in the third or fourth seed, really high. But yeah, apart from that,
it's all about staying healthy. That's all it is. Their team is about staying healthy.
The Nets look great. The first 2 games, I was like, the Nets, that's it. Crown them right now.
Dinwiddie loss is big, man.
Yeah, it's huge.
Loss. I think that gives them an extra option, bit of firepower off the bench, and Kyrie will go cold for a period, and his shoulder will play up, and it'll just be Durant featuring a whole bunch of guys.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, but I don't think it's a 50-win team. So we'll see how it goes. I think Philly played Brooklyn in 8 days, so that will be a good game to watch.
Who we got? What do we got coming up? I'm just looking at the schedule. Dallas playing Miami. It's a tough game. Spurs are playing the Lakers. Tough game. Utah Clippers. Tough game. What else have we got here? Philly, Charlotte.
Interesting games, I think, against Charlotte.
Raptors, Pels. And then San Antonio, Utah, Monday. Yeah, some tough games, some big games coming up. We'll have to wait and see if there's some upsets.
Indeed.
All right, as always, yeah, if you've gotten this far, like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube, broadcasting these live on YouTube. We're also putting the audio up on Spotify, on iTunes, and Apple Podcast Addict, and on SoundCloud. And yeah, we'll be back probably next week.
Indeed.
Oh, we've got card content. I should have plugged that at the start. What do we got? Some card stuff that we released this week.
Yeah, we got one. We released a video on Boxing Day. We've got one coming out on Monday next week, so check it out.
Yeah, make sure you watch those. They're pretty fun to watch. We'll have to do more of those in 2021.
Indeed.
Yeah, and as always, yeah, like, share,